Hello everyone. I recently did a recording to talk about the idea Moore's Law had on his channel and just kind of like talk about some hardware stuff related to that or another thing. Since that recording, my gears have been turning and I've thought of some new things and I want to share because I think it's a really interesting thought and maybe somebody can learn from it. In order to properly share this thought, I need to first cover two different devices or technologies. The first I'm going to cover is what's called a DAC, or digital audio converter. This is an older device or technology. It's been around for quite some time, and essentially what it is it's a USB device that takes an analog headset, it's the two-prong thing, and basically enhances the audio. So it's sort of a sound card, but not quite 100% a sound card. It's close enough though. To my knowledge, there's only two DACs left. They haven't been very popular for many years. So the one you see on screen is one. The other one is made by Creative. I think it's like Creative Blaster X6 or something like that. That's the other DAC besides Sennheiser. That's still around and actually very good at what it does. As a matter of fact, if you read some reviews, this particular DAC is actually better than even some integrated audio on motherboards. So that's one. Now I need to talk about the EVGA XR1. So I've mentioned the EVGA XR1 in past recordings because EVGA claims it works on Linux. Again, Linux does have its own unique setup, so it does require unique hardware and stuff to be able to utilize that. So anyways, EVGA XR1, the short version of this is a capture device that is, for the most part, plug and play. There is software related to this that kind of like controls the RGB and stuff, but for the most part, everything in terms of controlling the pass-through devices is all done by that giant knob that you see on the top of it, which means that it doesn't need software to essentially operate whatever audio device you have decided to pass through. That's a big deal because the Elgato capture cards, as good as they are, they have software that does create issues or something down the line for streamers. The ability to just plug and play is a huge deal for streamers because it alleviates at least one technical problem to be on top of. So it's a big deal. And we're going to come back to these, I promise you, because there's a very good reason I'm talking about these. Let's get into the document now. 1 second. Okay, so I've taken the liberty to, or taken the time to, list all the video cards that are present right now and how I would change it. In the past recording, I was saying that ray tracing technology or ability should be only present on the higher end video cards, the ones that can actually take the frame hit, because ray tracing does take a lot of your FPS away. So you'll notice at the top I've listed all the video cards at their current specs, and then I gave my opinion that 6 gigabytes or lower should be used for esports, and 8 gigabytes 1080p, and 12 gigabytes, well, 10 to 12 should be 1440p. So before we get into my proposed ideas of how the video card lineup should change, let me first explain the whole gigabyte mess. Video cards, just like your RAM sticks or internal memory for the computer, have their own memory, which is measured in gigabytes. It's called VRAM. So Jay's 2 cents and a few others have done tests on how much VRAM you actually need to run games, and the general census is 8 gigabytes is good right now for the most part, and although there will be certain games that will kind of push that limit up to 10, and those exceptions are certainly rare, but they are present. So there's a reason. There's two reasons for this. One is the tests, and the other reason for my opinion is based on my knowledge of computers. For most people, a gaming computer will last maybe 5 years. It could be more, it could be less, depending on what hardware it has. what you're doing. So, like, for example, if you're doing 4K gaming, then obviously you're going to, need upgrades a lot sooner than, say, a 1440p or even a 1080p system, because 4K is very demanding, and I honestly don't get any point in 4K gaming, but whatever. I digress. So, that's why I listed the gigabyte numbers based on my opinion. Now we're getting into the bottommost section. As I was just mentioning, there are certain gigabyte things that I would shoot for, and I also think that the ray tracing should be on the higher end models. But there's one other thing I want to bring up here, and this ties back to what I was talking about just a moment ago with the DAC and the EVGA XR1. All RTX video cards come with not just ray tracing, but other Nvidia technologies such as RTX voice. Now, for most people, RTX voice is not going to be a huge deal because, it doesn't. It's one of those things that it's really more for streamers than it's anything else. Basically, what RTX voice does is it uses, I guess, AI algorithms to detect background noise and just silence it, so the people are only hearing your voice on the thing and not whatever background noise you have going on. So technologies like RTX voice, I'm sure, is not going to be the only thing NVIDIA is going to be doing within the next couple of years. I imagine they're going to tap into using AI for audio in gaming and other things, which is why I brought up the DAC. So I think NVIDIA should just stop trying to put RTX voice, and if they have any audio, ideas in the future, they should skip that too. They should just create something like the EVGA XR1 or the DACs and just shove their technologies into that. I think that would be a far better way of handling it, because then that way people have the option of putting it in, and it's not just forced upon them, because I imagine putting those technologies in is adding cost to those video cards on top of the other stuff that NVIDIA does. Assuming I'm right, then that would certainly save costs and make the video cards more affordable, while at the same time guaranteeing that people have the option of using it and it's not being forced on them. So now that I've covered NVIDIA, let's go ahead and talk about my proposed changes here. So you'll notice that I've used the acronyms or naming schemes that are present just to make the translation easier. As you'll notice, I didn't put RTX in front of the 3070 or 3060 just because I don't feel like it has enough processing power to truly make the most of ray tracing. I think that should only be present on the 3080 or 3090. But you can see that I put up what I feel is the correct VRAM for that, and then I did the same once I got down to AMD. Once I got to the AMD section, I did the exact same thing. So you'll notice I did, because our naming scheme is similar, it's going to be XT instead of RTX, so that's where their ray tracing is. Well, at least on these models, it's going to be, but XT is now being used as the ray tracing name, although in the past it wasn't the name for ray tracing. It was to indicate a higher clock or speed video card. That's what XT meant for AMD, well, ATI Radeon originally, but of course that's now changing because of ray tracing technology. Either way, you can see that I follow the exact same planning, and it's only on the higher end with AMD as well. I don't think that anybody should be shooting for 4K gaming. I don't know why it's a thing, but whatever, it's there. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. So let's go and go through this line real quickly and show you kind of where I was going with this. So I was planning for the GTX 3060 to be for 1080p. As you can see, it's just above the 3050, which is 6 gigs. The GTX 3070 I was planning for 1440p. RTX 3080 I was planning for 1440p, basically similar to what 3070 is doing, but on a higher level. It can handle some 4K gaming, but the 3090 is really the specialty for that. If you want 4K gaming, then 3090 for the NVIDIA lineup should be the 4K gaming video card. And those two should be the only ones with RTX. They're the only ones with enough processing power to truly make the most of it. I did an exact same scenario here in which I did the 6700 as the 6 gig, then the 6750 as the 8 to 12 gig, the 6800 is the 12 to 16, and then finally we get into the ray tracing. That would be how I would handle a gaming lineup if I was in charge of this confusion that is the video card lineup right now. Because if you compare to what I'm showing you right here to the topmost part of the document, you'll see there's some vast differences and some very weird things going on. For example, the 3060 right now has an entire 4 gigs more VRAM than the 3060 Ti. It does not make sense in the slightest to me and to Jay's 2 cents and others. So I don't get what's going on there. But, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about esports real quickly and why I'm devoting a single video card to that. So, as mentioned with Moore's Law today, he was saying that you could try to use an older architecture or older design, to basically get performance at the cost of maybe like watts or something, energy efficiency. So with esports, you really don't need ray tracing or that other stuff. You just need high performance. And even then, esports really doesn't play any games that really involve a whole bunch of VRAM. For the most part, esports is stuck to really old games like Counter-Strike, Rocket League, Overwatch, and maybe some newer ones like Valorant and whatnot. Those games don't really require VRAM. They just require really, really good performance. So in that particular scenario, I would just stick to an esports video card as the baseline, and maybe it can be used for other things like, indie games, older games, that kind of thing. It could double as that as well. So its primary focus would be esports, but then it would be other things. And then as you gradually go up the line, you get different performances for the specified targets. So that's why I have a esports dedicated video card. Unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to be within the next couple of years. That AMD will make an APU that can do this instead of a dedicated video card. So that's just the way I've kind of like planned it out, and I think that's how they should handle it. But then again, I'm just an open-minded, out-of-the-box PC builder, and these are companies that will never change. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.